rich people, people that are successful, people that manifest what they want fast and easily, all do one thing that you don't do. They broadcast on the brainwave frequency known as the billionaire brainwave or the wealth wave. This is one thing that all successful people do. They put out a broadcast from their brain on a very specific frequency. And if you do that, this missing secret ingredient to manifesting, you too will be able to manifest quicker and easier than ever before all of your goals and dreams. Stay with me.
He's built multi-million-dollar companies. His explosive books on health and wealth have sold over 60 million copies. Now, the Kevin Trudeau Show they don't want you to know.
There are a lot of great books out there that talk about how to manifest your goals, dreams, and desires, how to become successful, Think and Grow Rich, The Secret, Ask and It Is Given, The Magic of Believing, The Magic of Thinking Big, See You at the Top, Karmic Management. There's a lot of great books out there, and there's a lot of books that I recommend. When you read them all, if you were to read, let's say, 100 of the top #1 best-selling books of all time on success and manifesting goals, dreams, and desires, they miss key ingredients. If you read any book on the law of attraction, manifesting, right? They miss key ingredients that when you look at very successful people absolutely 100% of the time actually do. And we're going to talk about that today. If you look at the recipe, if you will, or the formula that is in most of these books on the law of attraction or manifesting, they talk about, and even if you listen to my audio program, Your Wish is Your Command, How to Manifest Your Desires, which is really probably the #1 program on how to manifest goals, dreams, and desires, which covers all of these points. The basic ingredients are there. But unless you have all the ingredients, you're not going to get the end result, which is manifesting your goals, dreams, and desires fast and easy. If you're trying to bake a cake and you follow the recipe, and the recipe says, here's this beautiful, delicious, luscious, moist, flavorful chocolate cake, and somebody gives you the ingredients, and it says flour, water, salt. Okay, well, flour is in a chocolate cake, but water isn't. And they missed the eggs. They missed the vanilla. As a matter of fact, they missed the chocolate. So they're giving you some of the ingredients, and some of the ingredients they're giving you are actually wrong ingredients. You're not going to be able to bake the cake. So when it comes to manifesting, if you read any of these books, some of them have some of the ingredients correctly. Some of them have the ingredients in the wrong proportion. Some of them have the wrong ingredients, but all of them are missing ingredients. And all of them are missing how to actually bake that cake, which means they get the wrong temperature of the oven. Some of them say, 550 degrees. No, you're going to burn the cake. You're not going to get that delicious cake. Somebody else says 200 degrees. Somebody else says put it in for 10 minutes. Somebody else says put it in for an hour and a half. You have to have the right recipe all the way through. And then what pan are you using? Some people say, put it on a cookie sheet. No. Some people put it in a pan this big. No. It's got to be a certain size pan at a certain depth, made of a certain material. And then are you greasing the inside of the pan? Are you then flouring it and taking off the flour so it doesn't stick? And that way it heats evenly. There's all these different nuances that you have to employ if you want to get the end result, which is a magnificent, delicious, luscious, moist chocolate cake. And if somebody's baking that and they're not telling you all the ingredients in the exact method in order that they're using to get that result, you're not going to get the same result. So manifesting is the chocolate cake. If you find somebody that's capable of manifesting their goals, dreams, and desires easily and effortlessly on a consistent basis and say, what exactly are you doing? That's what's missing, because you're not getting their recipe in total. And today we're going to talk about one key, absolutely critical key, missing ingredient to success. Now, how do we know this is true? Through research over decades, multiple successful people in all areas of life were researched. And it was brain research. Whether it's people that have hundreds of millions of dollars cash in the bank and make tens of millions of dollars a year in income, that's a quantifiable result. If they started from nothing, they were poor and they were able to manifest that wealth. That's pretty significant. What about a spectacular sports athlete? Whether it's somebody in tennis or golf or basketball or football or soccer. Let's look at these people and say, these are extremely high achievers that manifested things. People in the celebrity world, they went from nothing and they manifested fame and fortune. Let's look at their brain. And there's devices today that you can hook your brain up to, and it will monitor the brainwave frequencies that your brain emits. Now, there's a chart we're going to put up which shows the brainwave frequencies. It was actually put into 5 categories. At the top is gamma, then there's beta, then there's alpha, then there's theta, and then there's delta. And you can see the brainwave frequencies vibrate at a different speed and wavelength, and this is significant. You know, when you went through my course, Your Wish is Your Command, I mentioned at length the fact that the brain is a broadcaster and receiver of frequency. And that frequency, when it gets put out, affects matter in the physical universe and affects other people's brains. It's actually picked up by other people and can influence very strongly other people's thoughts and feelings and actions. Now, that's very significant. Now, how do we know that's true? There's been huge amounts of research. One is by Dr. Emoto, where water was taken and it was frozen. And then it was sliced and looked under a microscope. And different kinds of water was taken. There was tap water, there was spring water, there was filtered water, there was distilled water. The water was frozen, sliced, and looked under a microscope. And every time this test was conducted, the crystal formation was exactly the same. Every time they looked at the tap water, it was the same. Every time they looked at the spring water, it was the same. Every time they looked at the distilled water or the filtered water, it was always the same. Then an amazing experiment was conducted. A person would simply look at the water and attempt to put out a frequency or broadcast a vibrational wave from their brain. They were instructed to pick a frequency such as anger or love. So if it was anger, they would feel angry and then put that frequency into the water using their brain. Then the water was frozen, sliced, and compared to the original water crystal from that sample. And in every case, it changed. And in every case, it changed pretty much the same. So when anger was put into the water, the crystal changed. And I think we have photos of this that we'll put up. But the crystal changed. If love was emitted into the water, the crystal changed. Gratitude, appreciation, grief, fear, all of these changed the structure of the water. This was one example that proved that the brain puts out frequency, and that frequency affects physical matter in the universe. Other examples were things like gold and silver were tested. They have a vibrational frequency to them. Every time some gold is tested, or every time some silver is tested, or every time some copper is tested, or even every time a rock is tested, it puts out the same vibrational frequency. Then test subjects were told to look at that rock or look at that piece of gold or look at that piece of silver and put out a frequency to it. Then the frequency of that item was tested again, and it changed. This was also done with what's called Kirlian photography, where you could see the aura or field around the item. This was very significant. Now, when you think about the implications of this, this is one of the reasons why the law of attraction works and why the book Think and Grow Rich, which was one of the first books, it wasn't the first book, but it was one of the first books that popularized the idea that your thoughts can create your reality. From a quantum physics standpoint today, we know that this is 100% absolutely true. Your thoughts create your physical reality. So when you read these books on manifesting, one of the things they say is think about what you want to attain, your goal, your objective, your dream. Think about it. Earl Nightingale said, you become what you think about most of the time. Okay, actually, Emerson was the first person who said that. The challenge with this is, if you're broadcasting that thought on the wrong brainwave frequency, it's not going to be picked up as much in the physical universe. So if you can imagine the physical universe is like a radio transmitter, and the physical universe picks up a particular radio frequency, 1040 AM, and you're broadcasting a very intense, powerful frequency that you want more money. You're broadcasting that intensely, and you're broadcasting it all the time. But you're broadcasting on frequency 97.9 FM. If you have your receiver there set to AM 1040, you don't hear anything. The universe isn't hearing your broadcast because you're on the wrong frequency. The key missing ingredient, and there are many, to manifesting, the key missing ingredient is you have to broadcast your desire in a certain way on the right frequency. And that billionaire brainwave, or that manifesting brainwave, or that wealth creating brainwave is right in between alpha and theta. It's right in between. That's the sweet spot. When wealthy people had their brains hooked up to biofeedback machines, which monitor the brainwave frequencies that the brain is producing, it noticed that the brain does change throughout the day. It'll be in gamma sometimes, and beta sometimes, and alpha and theta. Usually throughout the day, it's never in delta. That's only in sleep. And even in sleep, it doesn't get to delta the entire time. Billionaires, or magnificent manifestors, people that can actually manifest goals, dreams, and desires readily, quickly, easily, almost effortlessly, almost like magic. Interestingly enough, their brain is broadcasting alpha and theta most of the time. And more importantly, it's broadcasting in between alpha and theta, right around there, on the critical times when that person is putting out a desire for something that they want in their life. Michael Jordan had that ability to say, we're going to win this. And he would put that out with intensity and power on that creation brainwave, that billionaire brainwave, that wealth creation brainwave, that manifesting wave that affects everything in the physical universe in a magnificent, powerful way, thus attracting into your life what you want, helping you manifest into your life what you want. There's a lot of talk about this these days. There was an article that came out that says, Unlocking Prosperity, 5 powerful brainwave rituals to attract abundance. Okay, sounds pretty good. So you read this, and it says, Alpha State Visualization. Try this. Set aside a few minutes each day to meditate in a quiet space. Visualize your financial dreams as if they are happening now. Feel the emotions associated with success and wealth to reinforce positive neural pathways. It sounds good. and it's not 100% wrong. But I was just with 30 guys who all have a net worth of, well, collectively, their net worth and the money they controlled was close to $1 trillion. So they're all super wealthy guys. And I asked every one of them, do you meditate? Or did you ever meditate? Especially when you were first starting off building your wealth, did you meditate? Did you sit in a room and visualize your financial abundance? And they looked at me like I was insane. They go, no. So this is theory. It's BS. We're not talking theory or sound good advice. I'm giving you what real people do who are really manifesting their goals, dreams, and desires. Theta wave affirmations. Try this. Create a list of empowering affirmations related to money and success. During theta meditation, again, no wealthy people goes into theta meditation. And no one is repeating affirmations to themselves, focusing on belief and prosperity while they're theta meditating. I mean, the people who wrote this are retarded. Seriously. I mean, the author is like, oh, really? So obviously you've done this, Mr. Author. How much money do you have in the bank? Do you have 10, 15, 20 million? Well, how come it's not working? It's sound good bullshit advice. It's not what wealthy people do. It's not what the greatest athletes do. This is not what they do in real life. I'm going to tell you what they do. And if you do what they do, then you'll also get the results that they're getting. This is sound good advice put out by people who are very well-intentioned. And it's not 100% wrong, but it's missing key ingredients, and they're adding ingredients that aren't on the real recipe list that will give you the end result, which is that magnificent, delicious, moist chocolate cake. And they go on gratitude, gamma wave, beta, blah, blah, blah. Sound good advice, and it doesn't sound bad. But there are ingredients in here that are not the ingredients on the success recipe. And there are missing ingredients that are on the success recipe. I'll throw that out. And then here's another one. Smart glasses focus attention with NASA neurofeedback technology. And this article talks about how NASA is using, oh, there's a great picture of this guy here. Okay. So I want you to find a billionaire that hooks themselves up like this. And they did this when they were just starting off. And they go, yeah, that was me training my brain with bio and neurofeedback so I could manifest what I wanted. No. Warren Buffett didn't do that. Steve Jobs didn't do that. Elon Musk didn't do that. Are you with me so far? So let me tell you exactly what you have to do so that you can put out a desire, put out a broadcast, put out a vibrational frequency on the correct wavelength band so that if it affects matter in the universe, is picked up by other brains and affects other people's brains, therefore affects and influences them so that the entire universe is working together and has been activated to help manifest into your life everything you want, because it absolutely works 100% of the time. The first thing that we notice is with wealthy people. If we look at these great manifestors, and not just wealthy people, people that excel at manifesting their goals, dreams, and desires. Look, there's a lot of people who don't have a goal, dream, or desire to be a billionaire. You don't have to have that goal. That doesn't have to be your desire. There's a lot of people who have a desire to be the best teacher in the world, or to be the best gardener in the world, or to make a magnificent home and a family that's loving and together and have a fulfilling life. So it's not all about money. Money is something, however, that you can quantify. So we'll use that a lot. as an example because it's quantifiable. Some of these other things aren't as quantifiable. But at the end of the day, whatever your goals and dreams are, you want to manifest them. You want them to come into your life quickly and easily. So how do you broadcast in this bandwave? Well, first off, if you're not manifesting your goals, dreams, and desires, and you think you're following the proper recipe, you're thinking about what you want to achieve, you're getting a picture of yourself in possession of it, you're feeling now as if you are actually in possession of that, you have a burning desire for its achievement, you release attachment to the outcome, you do all the specific steps. The first step being you contract energy and find out what exactly you will not tolerate anymore. So you get some anger and therefore you focus it on what you want. There's a whole series of steps. Even if you're following all that recipe, there's an excellent chance, matter of fact, there's probably a 90+ chance, you're broadcasting your desire on the beta brainwave frequency. You can call that the slave or poverty wave. That's what most people broadcast on. And we know this again in neuroscience research. You take a bunch of people that are broke and you put the devices on their head for 24 hours, 48 hours, and then you look at the reading and they go, yeah, they're broadcasting in beta almost all the time during the day. And then if you do that again with people who manifest things, they go through all of the cycles, but they're broadcasting in Alpha-Theta infinitely more. And specifically when they're putting out a desire to achieve something or manifest something or make something happen in their life. So how do we do that? Well, there's another piece of data you need to know. And that is if you look at these people that manifest things quickly and easily or seem to or appear to, and you analyze their brain, they have something different in their brain than you. In the brain, there's something called the hippocampus. It's a little thing in the brain. And this hippocampus, interestingly enough, is small and inactive or has very low activity in people that are poor, in people that don't manifest their goals, dreams, and desires, in people that seem to fail at everything they try. And then when you look at people that succeed in everything they try, people that are wealthy, people that manifest their goals, dreams, and desires, interestingly enough, their hippocampus is bigger and it's much more active. So the first thing you need to do in order to broadcast on that Alpha-Theta billionaire brainwave or wealth wave is to increase the size of your hippocampus and get it active. Now, the question is, how do we get it active? Let's do that first, and then we'll talk about how to increase the size of it. First off, why is it not active? The answer is, it's calcified, which means it's crusted. The number one thing that will calcify the hippocampus, and Trey, I think I sent you a picture on Telegram of this, it was either an MRI scan or a CAT scan of the brain and the hippocampus, how it's calcified. So we might put that on the screen. The number one thing that calcifies, helping make inactive your hippocampus, is fluoride in the water supply. Yeah. Now, I've done shows on fluoride. Many people have done shows on fluoride. I'm not going to talk about all the disadvantages and evil effects that fluoride has and why it's being put in the water. I will tell you this, that the first group that ever put fluoride in water were the Nazis, and they put it in the water supplies in the ghettos and in the concentration camps so that they could dumb down and slow down and reduce aggressiveness and motivation and inspiration of the people. In other words, make inactive the hippocampus so they're broadcasting on beta and they can't get into the creation or manifesting broadcast wave from their brain. Ooh, I just went into a subject here that It's going to get people's eyes open. Hey, I'm just the messenger. I'm just giving you a historical fact. That's not disputed, by the way. So how do you get the fluoride out, or how do you decalcify that hippocampus? There's a couple ways. Number one, for about 2 weeks, only drink steam distilled water. You don't want to do it for more than 2 weeks because that leaches. Steam distilled water has no minerals in it, therefore it'll leach out of the body and will start the decalcification process. But only for 2 weeks, and ideally don't drink anything else. Don't drink milk, don't drink juice, don't drink coffee or tea, just drink distilled water. That would be ideal. For a lot of people, they need their coffee, they need their tea. Fine, make coffee with distilled water, make tea with distilled water. Drink as little juice. Don't drink any carbonated beverages at all when you're doing that. But for about 2 weeks. And then you can take some supplements. And there are several supplements on the market that decalcify or get the fluoride out and decalcify the hippocampus. Some of them are in a dropper, and you take this dropper of nutrients, and it helps to decalcify. There's several brands out there. I've looked at about 4 or 5, and I think they're all very, very good. The key ingredients, though, are spirulina and chlorella. Spirulina and chlorella pull and draw out and will, over a period of about 90 days, if you take it every day, decalcify that hippocampus. And how do we know? All you have to do is do a brain scan. You can see the hippocampus that's calcified, and then 90 days later, you can do another one. You can see that it's a lot less decalcified. Therefore, it's more active. If you just do that, you're going to increase your power to broadcast in the Alpha-Theta Billionaire Brainwave. You're going to be able to put out on that frequency your vibrations of what you want, or your thoughts of what you want, or your desires. Each desire has a frequency, and you'll be broadcasting on the frequency that the universe is dialed into. Therefore, the universe picks it up, and therefore, you've activated the law of attraction so that by a magnetic pull, what you want starts getting created in the ether and then starts to physically manifest and is drawn into your life and reality. It sounds esoteric, I know, but it's not. It's actually science, because everything I say is backed up by numerous studies by very legitimate scientists and researchers, published research. It's not fantasy. It's real. Okay, forget the research, forget the science. Let's just look at reality. Just look at people that manifest things. There's your evidence. There's your substantiation and documentation that it really does work. And some people could argue, but at the end of the day, whatever you're doing ain't working. So who's the fool? Think about it. So number one, you want to decalcify that hippocampus. Then you want to get the hippocampus bigger. So how do you grow the hippocampus? How do you get it bigger? Now, there are some things that you can do that science, not me, but science has proven will begin to increase the size of your hippocampus. So if you have a hippocampus that is active, it's no longer calcified, so it's active, and you can get it bigger, then your broadcasting power gets stronger and more intense. You are then capable of thinking about what you want, picturing yourself in attainment of your desire, feeling now as if you were actually in attainment of it, with a burning desire, a need to have it, which is contracted energy, and that will go out into the physical universe with power and intensity on the correct brainwave and therefore be picked up by the universe. So the bigger and more active your hippocampus is, means the more power you have access to broadcast your desires into the universe, thus make the law of attraction work where up until now it probably hasn't worked for you. Look, The Secret is a great book. I recommend you read it. The movie The Secret is a great movie. I recommend you watch it. I know most of the people in there, and they're terrific. Think and Grow Rich. I recommend you read it. The Magic of Believing. I recommend you read it. Your Wish is Your Command. I recommend you read my book that's coming out and also listen to my audios that are out. It's spectacular. Ask and It Is Given. Spectacular. Karmic Management. The Diamond Cutter. The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. The Magic of Thinking Big. These are all great books, and I recommend you read them. But unless you are broadcasting your desire on that billionaire brainwave, it's not going to manifest. The evidence is how many tens of millions of people have read those books and then tried to use the techniques described in the book and then saw no results. It's estimated that over 95% of the people that read The Secret will swear, this doesn't work. I tried it and it didn't work. I didn't manifest anything. Make sense? So, how do you grow the hippocampus? How do you get it bigger? I'll give you a few simple techniques that you can do right now. And then I'm going to show you how to actually broadcast that on that brainwave. Number one, I'm going to tell you to do something that you probably don't do anymore, and very few people do compared to 50 years ago. Read. Yes, read. There's a reason why government in America, the government in America, and governments around the world are trying to get people illiterate again, unable to read and write. There's a reason, because they know that reading and writing actually stimulates the hippocampus. I reported this, and this is one of the first reasons why the government came after me and violently attacked me. And this was talked about just recently by the current administration. And this is why they're closing the Department of Education. It was talked about specifically by the leaders in Washington. They said exactly what I said 25 years ago, longer, 30 years ago. And that is the Department of Education took phonics out of the schools and they replaced it with the look-see method. It's called look and guess. They didn't teach phonics. So kids' reading abilities crashed. They can't read anymore because they didn't know phonics. They didn't know how to sound words out, and they stopped looking words up in the dictionary. So the amount of reading people do went down and down and down and down and down. Then they got all these kids on Ritalin and Adderall and all these psychiatric prescribed medications for attention deficit disorder, so they had no ability to focus. If you want to increase the size of your hippocampus, consider reading more. And what kind of books should you read? Well, there's two basic kinds of books. One, we'll call it a self-help book or a positive thinking book. A positive thinking book or a self-help book will inspire you. It'll motivate you. In those books, you have to think, you have to concentrate, you have to create images in your mind of what they're talking about and try to put things together and make conclusions, and you have cognitions. This process is going to stimulate the hippocampus and increase its size. The second kind of book that you want to read is either a novel or a biography or autobiography. These are fantastic. And if you're looking for success, then autobiographies or biographies by wealthy people. Because now you get the best of both worlds. You're reading stories which cause the brain and the mind to create images. And the process of creating images in your mind stimulates the hippocampus and increases its size. It exercises it. When you read a novel, the same thing will happen. But when you're reading an autobiography or a biography, it's a story like a novel, but it's a true story, so you get to picture things better. Picturing things, which is using your imagination, creating images, is a mental exercise to stimulate the hippocampus. So read more. Next, breathing. Breathing should be done in and out through the nose only. The nose is for breathing. The mouth is for eating and drinking. You should not be breathing in and out through your mouth unless you're doing a specific pranayama or breathing exercise or technique for a specific reason. But forget that. All throughout the day and all night, you should be breathing in and out through your nose only, even when you're exercising. Now, I know it's hard when you're exercising really hard, you all of a sudden start panting. Okay, great. When we trained, we would like run stairs. We'd run like 2 or 3 flights of stairs, run. And we would do it all at the same time, breathing in and out through our nose only. And we would see who would be the first person to break down and have to start breathing out of their mouth. And we would time it. And then we would do it the next day and the next day. And everyone started increasing their ability to breathe in and out through their nose and not breathe out of their mouth until we could do the whole series of 20 or 30 minutes of running stairs, breathing in and out through our nose only. It increases your lung capacity, increases your oxygenation. It has tremendous health benefits, physiological health benefits, and also brain power benefits, but it stimulates the hippocampus. Okay, even if you don't exercise, just throughout the day, think about and focus on breathing in and out through your nose. That's number one. And when you breathe in, the stomach goes out a little bit. And when you breathe out, the stomach goes in a little bit. So you put your attention 2 inches below your belly button and practice to get into the habit of breathing this way. Grandmaster Tai, who was a close, dear friend of mine and my Kung Fu and Chi master before he became a grandmaster later in his life, we would train on how to move Chi energy. One of the trainings was breathing properly. And in the beginning, I, like most people, would breathe out of my mouth from time to time and not breathe in and out of my nose. And he pointed out, let's correct that. It'll make you stronger in every way, not just physically, but also mentally, and increase your ability to manifest. Then he pointed out that sometimes, Kevin, you're breathing in and your chest goes out, and you're breathing out and your chest goes in. So you're breathing shallow. If you breathe all the time from your diaphragm, which is 2 inches below your belly button, is where you want to put your attention. So you breathe in, the chest doesn't expand, but the stomach goes out a little bit. And then when you breathe out, the stomach goes in a little bit. Now you're getting a full, complete breath. Well, he came to visit me one time and we were sitting there. I was with Blaine Athorn, Grandmaster Tai, and myself. We were sitting for a couple hours. And after about a couple hours, he's Chinese and he spoke with a pretty heavy accent. Perfect English, but a nice, beautiful, heavy accent. He says, "Oh, I watch your breathing for last 2 hours. You breathe perfect now. Oh, very good, very good. It now habit. You now on autopilot." And that's where you want to be. Next, associate with winners. If you want to stimulate your hippocampus, associate with like-minded, positive, motivated, inspired people who are dreamers and big thinkers, who are go-getters. When you are in their presence, their physical energy is going to affect you. Your income is going to be the average of your 5 best friends. And some of you are probably thinking, uh-oh, I need to get some new friends. It's true. When you associate with and have as friends and strong relationships and bonds with like-minded, motivated, inspired people that are big dreamers and go-getters, their energy helps permeate yours. And that makes breakthroughs in multiple areas. And one is it helps stimulate the growth of the hippocampus. Next, listening to the sounds of nature, which means, are you listening to crickets or cicadas or birds or the sound of running water or the sound of the wind going through the trees? Those are the sounds of nature, the sounds of animals. Interestingly enough, these sounds affect our brain, our left and right brain hemispheres, and help synchronize it, help us go into an alpha-theta state, but also stimulate the growth of the hippocampus. So that means being in nature more often. All wealthy people spent time in nature. One of the most common practices was they went out in nature for a walk. They went, horseback riding. They went for walks. They would go out in the fields. This was very, very common. They would do these things in nature. Today, we don't do it as much. Okay, if you're doing everything else and you don't do this, you're still going to be fine. But that's another thing to consider. Next is music. Research has proven that music affects living things. One of the most interesting research projects done, and I'm not sure the book that it was revealed in, was there were 2 greenhouses set up side by side that had the identical plants in each one. There was maybe 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 plants in each one. There was a lot in each one. They were identical in every way. In one, they played rock and roll music. And in the other one, they played Baroque classical music, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for a month. At the end of the month, the greenhouse with the rock and roll music, almost all of the plants were dead. And the greenhouse with the Baroque classical music, they were all thriving. I mean, just thriving beyond belief. Oh, there was a third room which had no music. And that room was fine as well. But the room with the Baroque classical music, the plants were sometimes 2 or even 3 times bigger and more robust than the room with no music. Then the researchers said, let's put Baroque classical music into the room where the plants are almost dead and see what happens. 30 days later, almost all the plants came back to life and they were thriving again. So Baroque classical music synchronizes the left and right brain hemisphere, puts you in an alpha state, and also stimulates the growth of your hippocampus. Next, dream building, which means expanding your thoughts about what is potentially possible. Dream building is going to big mansions, going to open houses where there's big mansions and looking at a house that you have no chance of affording right now. Going to a $20 million yacht and doing a tour. You have no chance of buying that now. But it expands your dream. Looking at diamond rings and Rolex watches and looking at expensive things, dreaming, looking at pictures of palaces, looking at pictures of beautiful resorts in Tahiti or throughout the world that you can't afford to go to right now. Looking at private jets, pictures of private jets, going seeing private jets, getting close to them. The act of dream building stimulates the hippocampus. This also is increasing your ability to use your imagination and being curious. The more curious you are, it stimulates the hippocampus. Next, learning a new skill. Maybe you've never learned to play the piano. Take piano lessons. That'll increase your ability to stimulate the hippocampus and increase its size. Learning a foreign language. Learning anything, a skill that you don't know now, the act of learning a new skill, learning a foreign language, will increase the size or help increase the size of the hippocampus. Next, changing your routine. Just look at your routine, change the time you wake up in the morning, change what you have for breakfast, change the first thing you do, change things in your day. Change what time you leave the office, change the route that you take home. If you're driving to and from the office, change the route. Change things. Next, stop using the GPS. Try to figure out how to get home. Try to figure out how to get to that location. Use your mind. This is training your brain, which is stimulating the hippocampus. And next is cursive writing. When you write, most people print and they're horrible, but actually work on writing in cursive and trying to get it beautiful and legible. If you look at just look at some of the old kids in the 4th or 5th grade, they used to write essays in cursive. And I remember I looked at papers, and I looked at this paper from these children in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade. They wrote an essay, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages in cursive. It was perfect. today, nobody can write as good as that, and these for children. So by writing cursive, it stimulates all these neural pathways and stimulates and increases the size of the hippocampus. So that will increase the size of the hippocampus. Now, how do you get your brain broadcasting on that sweet spot between alpha and theta? And the answer is there are some specific ways to focus and put your brain in that state, but that's very advanced. But I'm going to give you something that's easy, that's not advanced, and that is do the things that put you in that state, and then you'll start developing the habit of being in that state. So what are some of the things that will put you in that state? Number one, and I foo-fooed this earlier, it's meditation. And I did a whole show, if you haven't watched it, on how to meditate. There's a simple technique. What most people call meditation is really guided visualization. It's not meditation at all. True meditation will put you in an alpha-theta state. Actually, probably even more theta than alpha. Rich people, most of them don't meditate, although many do. Jerry Seinfeld was well known as being a meditator, and many other successful people, but it's not the norm for billionaires, but it is something that can be done, and it's something that you can certainly do. So meditation is one thing that'll put you in that state, and then you'll feel what it's like to be in that state. And this is why biofeedback is used, because when you can see that you're in that state, now you start getting a feel for what that state is, and then you start learning how to put yourself in that state. Next is music. I talked about Baroque classical music. Baroque classical music will put you in that state, and that's a good place to be. Next is interesting. Doing something that gets you focused where there's no distractions. One of the things that I used to do was chop wood. Because I had an axe with a really sharp blade, and I'd go out there and I'd start chopping wood. And unless you're focused, that blade can come down and slip, and you can chop your leg off. You can hit an artery and die and bleed to death. You had to be focused. And when you're focused on a repetitive action like chopping wood or shoveling snow or picking weeds or gardening, something like that, it puts you in that alpha-theta state. Some other things, cooking. Anything where you're in the act of creating, picking flowers, gardening, fishing, golfing, playing tennis. Another thing I used to do was in my homes, I had pool tables. In one home, I had two pool tables, one on one floor and one on another floor. And I'd be working and working, and I'd say, I need to get a break because I can feel I'm going into beta, the analytical slave wave where you're not going to manifest. So I'd go over to the pool table and I'd start running balls, and I'd really focus. And all of a sudden, I could feel my brain go right back. Then I go back to work. I'm in that state. And then all of a sudden, everything just starts clicking because you get into the flow. Playing tennis, swimming, repetitive actions like running or walking. Walking is ideal because when you're walking, you're getting two things. You're walking outside, so you're hearing the sounds of nature, unless you're in the city. And the act of walking, and someone said, what if I walk and I have headphones on and I listen to Baroque classical music at the same time? Or I had my headphones on and I'm listening to sounds of nature because I'm in the city. Excellent. These things will start putting you in this brainwave frequency. Now, does it work? I got a quote here from a former NBA player. And by the way, I looked at, before I did the show, dozens of these quotes. But here's one I thought was kind of cool. We're talking about training the brain and training yourself to put yourself in the alpha-theta brainwave frequency band. He says, my whole life I've struggled getting through school. I was taking all these pills. He was on this Adderall and Ritalin and all these different ADH and, psych drugs. I wasn't getting good grades. I couldn't pay attention. I got yelled at a lot, and I got into a lot of trouble. I was frustrated. I went through a lot. But once I started training my brain to get into the Alpha-Theta state, it changed my life, the way I act and the way I think. And it's helped my game so much. When you broadcast your desire on the Billionaire Brainwave, the wealth wave, which is right in between theta and alpha, and you do all the other elements of the manifesting formula, you're going to affect everything in the physical universe. You're going to affect other people because it's being picked up. That broadcast that you're putting out is being picked up by other people's brains. It's going to affect the way they think and the way they act. And you are going to manifest in your life more of what you want faster and easier than ever before. For more info on this, listen to the entire Your Wish is Your Command audio series that I have. I have a book coming out probably in a few months, which goes into this at length. My Success Mastery course, my Science of Personal Mastery course goes into this at length. This is something that you can do, and it is one of the most important missing key ingredients to making the law of attraction work and manifesting your goals, dreams, and desires work. Do these things, my friends, and I know I will see you all at the top. Much love, everybody. Bye-bye. I know you're glad you watched this show. If you enjoyed this episode, don't miss my show, How to Make Your First Million, where I reveal the powerful millionaire mindset shift that can transform your financial future. So what is the one thing that people who made $1 million, put $1 million cash in the bank, what's that one thing that they did that I guarantee you are not doing?